he mentioned, like, if it wasn't for us, some of you would be speaking German and Japanese with the German and Japanese in the room. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He's like, only stupid people buy windmills. I see
Well, and-
windmills all over Europe. I'm like, bro. Welcome to Rivera and Reeves, the podcast where we break through the bias, report the news, and occasionally trip over our soapboxes while ranting about the headlines.
Every week, we tackle the biggest stories with sharp analysis, unfiltered honesty, and just enough sarcasm to keep it fun.
So pull up a chair, grab your coffee, and join us as we wade through the spin, because the media is trash and we have zero patience for their nonsense. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Rivera and Reeves. I'm Mercedes and I'm here with my friend Rachel. Say hello, Rachel.
Hello, Rachel.
Okay.
Catch your breath.
I know. It's just, look, President has been in Davos, right? He's actually due to come back today, right? We have a lot of breaking news just coming in hot. All right.
Like a lot.
There's a lot of stuff. We're going to be talking about Davos. We're going to be talking about Greenland. We're going to give them some Davos highlights, which a lot of people associate with it just being like, that's just foreign policy. But it does tie into some domestic. And honestly, there's some highlights and some clips that are just like, they have to be played.
I mean, when Donald Trump speaks for like an hour and a half, you know you're going to get some goodies in there.
It's like they have to be played, some of
them.
them.
Let me just tell you. Oh,
yeah.
You know what? I'll save it. I'll save it.
Save it.
Save it.
Also, breaking news. This is developing. Arrests have been made of Nakima Armstrong. And I'm not going to pronounce the first name, Louisa Allen.
Yeah. And there is some breaking news on that just happened about 10 minutes ago. So,
okay. Do tell, because
you want me to tell you right now or during the segment?
Well,
I mean, let's just keep people waiting.
Well, we're not doing necessarily a segment on this because it's literally just like they've been arrested, and that's about it.
Well,
so I want to know.
There's a scoop on X that says that the Minnesota federal magistrate judge refusing to sign a complaint bringing charges against Don Lemon, and apparently, according to sources familiar, the Daily Wire heard that Attorney General Bondi is enraged at the magistrate judge's refusal to sign the complaint, bringing charges against one Don Lemon.
Well,
so it makes me mad too.
So,
I know. I know.
Well, in case you guys weren't listening to our last episode and have go back, go listen to it, because that's what we're talking about. This has to do with the city's church invasion of protesters that happened this past Sunday. So charges have been filed. Actually, Rachel was complaining this morning about why hasn't this happened yet? And I was like, girl, take a deep breath. Just give it a minute. Okay. We're also going to talk about something else Mercedes was right about.
I was getting ready for this podcast recording and I was putting on my fake eyelashes and thinking to myself, I wonder how many times Mercedes is going to point out during the recording that she was right. So that's number one. You just did what? So I'm keeping a count here.
Keep a count. Okay.
I also am keeping my Twitter feed open because apparently breaking news is just like every 30 seconds now. So
anything is spinning. Okay. Yeah. Well, before we get into today's episode, because we're also going to be talking about some Minneapolis details, because that keeps generating news. But before we get into today's podcast, welcome. You have found, if this is your first time here, welcome. You have found your new favorite podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening, on your favorite podcast app, on our Substack, or on YouTube. If you are a paying supporter, lucky you, because you get this full episode with the video the moment we hit publish, a full 24 hours before anybody gets it for free on YouTube. And of course, always is for free, the audio with ads. But if you want it ad free without interruption, please consider becoming a paying supporter on our Substack, which will also get a bonus episode once a month. Reminder, it's the final Saturday of every month at 11:30. We're going to be going live to do the unfiltered. Another thing that I want to mention real quick that I haven't been promoting since we've gotten back is my Substack and Rachel's Substack, in addition to our Rivera and Reeves Substack, and how, if you are already a subscriber, or if you are subscribing to ours and want to maybe subscribe to Rivera and Reeves, send us a DM or send us an email and we will send you a discount code exclusively for mine, hers, or the Rivera and Reeves Substack, depending on where you could do one, the other, or all three. It's up to you. This is kind of like our way of how we bundle the three together. So
and
you
I
get
feel
like
I mean, if you're coming into the new year and you're needing news sources or just wanting to streamline your sources, you really could get all the news you need with that little
just
bundle.
with the three of us.
I'm just saying. It's just something to consider.
Just consider it. So, okay, so let's get into Davos, okay? Switzerland, which at first I was like, I had a brain fart. I thought like Davos was an acronym, and I'm like, no, Mercedes, it's actually
It's a place.
city. And yeah, it's a place in Switzerland. This was for the World Economic Forum, right? Now, a lot happened. Right off the top, we're going to talk about the breaking news that came out of towards the end or late yesterday, which was an announcement by the president and he announced it on Truth Social, that following a meeting with the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he said, we have formed a framework for a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. He also said Mercedes was right. She knew exactly what was going to happen.
That is twice now. We'll see how many more times you can get it into the recording.
When we were together before we headed up to D.C. on the Capitol, if you guys haven't been listening, we engaged in a debate at dinner on whether or not Trump was going to invade Greenland.
Now, at this point, I was very hungry. Okay. I had
this was hunger pains.
I wasn't thinking clearly, obviously. Also, to be fair, Donald Trump does all kinds of stuff that everybody's like, he wouldn't do that. So I feel like anything is in the realm of possibility with this man. That's all I'm going to say. That's my only defense.
I mean, it was breaking news. He posted it on Truth Social. In addition to that, he also said that he wasn't going to continue with these threats of tariffs on 8 European countries, which were Denmark, the UK, France, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Netherlands, and Finland.
This is good. That is very good.
Yes.
I didn't like that idea in the first place.
Well, the market immediately didn't like it either. But as soon as this was announced, the market shot up, and they're like, okay, bro.
Stocks are looking good.
So who's negotiating the details? VP Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the Steve Witkoff special envoy. They'll be kind of working out the details in addition. And from my understanding, which I'm about to play a clip from the president he's going to explain what this framework is in the most Donald way possible.
Type of way, right? Yep.
Yeah. But this discussion was happened primarily with the NATO Secretary General, Rutte.
Is it Rutte or Rutte?
I'm hearing Rutte.
I hear both. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So I'm going to go with that one for right now. It's not even I could be wrong. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, and that after that, Denmark put out a statement saying now they're willing to speak to the president. So I think the next step is that they're all going to kind of work out the details. Now, the big question is, what is this framework? What does it mean? And because a lot of people are like, are we buying Greenland?
See, I don't think we are.
We'll see. But this is so he did an interview with Maria Bartiromo, and this is what he had to say about it.
We will have everything we want. We're getting everything we want at no cost.
So the Golden Dome will be on Greenland?
A piece of it, yes, and it's a very important part because everything comes over Greenland. If the bad guys start shooting, it comes over Greenland. So we knock it down. It's pretty infallible. It's amazing. Ronald Reagan had the idea a long time ago, but we didn't have any technology at that point. The concept was great, but there was no technology. Now we have unbelievable technology. Virtually 100%.
So what are we talking about? An acquisition of Greenland? Are you going to pay for it?
We're talking about it. It's really being negotiated now, the details of it, but essentially it's total access. It's there's no end. There's no time limit.
And Marco Rubio is now in charge of all of these negotiations.
Have you seen his new snowsuit?
Yes, the special ambassador to Greenland is his next job.
Oh, gosh.
Oh,
okay, so to me, from what I'm understanding that is happening with Greenland is that so Greenland maintains their
Sovereignty,
quasi-sovereignty
kind of?
and relationship with Denmark.
Yeah.
And it is also my understanding that even though initially we already had military bases on there, but in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, there was a new treaty that was updated
Mhm.
where it was like to the discretion of the people of Greenland.
Yeah.
Now, at the time, currently there was no threat. It wasn't like Greenland was making a movement or saying
Mhm.
anything about like you need to leave. There had been no real open opposition about the United States being on Greenland.
Mhm.
So, there's a debate about how much did Trump gain more? Is he basically breaking even? Was this tactic even necessary? Like, could if he just asked
Right.
first
Could he have just gone
before?
in and been like, "Hey, we want to expand some bases. This is for national security. It's good for you too." Obviously, I don't know.
Mhm.
Was this
So,
all
well,
all the bluster? Was it worth it?
yes, was all the bluster worth it? Because, some are concerned that the bluster is going to contribute and lead to strained future
Oh,
relations.
yeah.
Which I think, honestly, when it comes to, if the Europeans, like, let's just be honest, the U.S. electoral system,
Yeah.
like the way we switch every 2 to 4 years, it would
Yeah.
be, I think, naive or irresponsible, frankly,
Mhm.
for the Europeans to be like, no
We don't want to
more.
be friends anymore.
Now,
Well, and
I think they
let's
need
be
to
honest, they need
fortify
us,
themselves. Yeah.
of course, but they need us far more than we need them. And I think what Donald Trump actually said when he mentioned, like, if one of the NATO countries called us and we needed to defend them, we would be there for you. But we're not sure
Mhm.
any of you would be there for us. And of course, Mark Rutte came out and was like, "We
He's like,
will.
"Whoa, wait, we
We
will."
will. I promise. I love you, Daddy Trump." But, like, it's kind of not a mystery that we have given so much
Mhm.
to Europe, like so much, and we get very little in return. And some of that's just based on size and ability. But, you know, I don't think that they're necessarily going to be like, "Well, you're cut off." That would be naive and stupid. They can't survive without us the way the system works right now. They can't.
Well, and I think, there was a lot of discussion in Davos about some of the European leaders saying, like, look, we need to be able to fend a little bit more for ourselves.
I think they're
Which,
realizing. Yeah.
yeah, which I don't think, now some people are concerned that that means it's going to push them towards China or push them towards Russia. But I also think like that would be very short-sighted to
Mhm.
do that, because over there you're dealing with decades long authoritarian structures that
Yeah.
you just know at some point they're going to switch, as opposed to in the United States, like, yes, you're dealing with different dynamics, but at least in the idea is that you have some shared culture and shared interest.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen. I think in regards to whether this was necessary, I think this is kind of the move fast and break things, which when we're dealing with
Which has been the
politics,
last year too.
yes,
Specifically
but
the last year, but
well, and
politics in general.
it's not what the world is used to. It's not what American
Right.
politics is used to.
Mhm.
And but I do think that there is a possibility, especially when we're talking about, like, if we were to pull back and just look at the dynamics of everything right now
Mhm.
and the politics of everything right now.
Mhm.
Trump is such a polarizing person
Yeah.
that for him to go and ask nicely, hey, can we have more bases on Greenland?
Mhm.
Yes. Is that okay? I think we would end up in a lot of like politicking,
Mhm.
negotiations, meetings, especially like Europeans just love to have meetings about
Mhm.
meetings, to plan a meeting,
Yeah.
And I think for Trump, he's like, I want to get this done and I want to get it done now.
Mhm.
So with that mindset in place, I would say this is the most effective way.
Mhm. Well, but that's the
It-
way his entire first year of this second administration can be categorized. Everything is
Yeah.
move fast, break things. There's no possible way. I mean, what other administration, even over a 4-year time span, has done as much, whether you agree with the stuff Donald Trump's done or not, but has done as much as he has in a year? I mean,
Oh,
he
no
does. He moves
question.
fast and breaks things, but stuff does get done.
It
And
gets
so
done.
You know, if that's his modus operandi, it's working. Um, things are getting
It's
done.
driving everybody crazy.
I know.
So I don't
I know.
know. But I mean, it was interesting though, because while he was there, the focus of some of his speech partnered well with what JD Vance said when he spoke. I think it was last year. Well, yeah, it was last year. We're in January, but you know what I mean. Where he was basically saying, the issues and the challenges that Europe is having with the illegal immigration and free speech. And Trump basically also addressed those points. He's like, that Europe has become unrecognizable. It's not, and he doesn't mean that in a positive way, that he speaks with people and they're saying it's completely changed. It's completely shifted. And, were there some moments where he wasn't the most, he was a little
Tactful?
too, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
He wasn't the most tactful and he was a little too honest.
Well, and this is not like, really that important, but I guess, I always am talking about how optics are important, so I suppose it is. But he seemed really tired to me. And one of the girls walked in and was like, "Is he sick?" And I said, "I don't think so. Why?" And she said, "Well, he sounds like he's been smoking his whole life, first of all, but he's talking slower. He doesn't have the zip he usually has, But maybe that was just me. I didn't feel like he had the Donald Trump
I actually have some
energy.
Inside info.
What?
Actually. Not inside info.
Are you
Not really.
calling the Donald? Do you have him on speed dial? Is that why you won the Greenland bet? That's why.
Yeah, I had inside information. No,
whatever.
So I was listening to Spicer, and so I don't know if you saw on the news that he had left to Davos and the plane had to turn back around.
Yes.
So when it turned back around, so when he left, there's multiple Air Force Ones. What really makes it Air Force One is that the president's on it, but there's different planes. He was on like the big plane. Going to Davos initially, which has a suite, he has a full bed, everything, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
But when they turned around and they had to switch him to another plane, it was the smaller plane, which doesn't have the bed, the bathroom, the shower. And he's like, you basically end up in a conference room for the entire flight.
Yikes. Yeah,
so
that would sour my mood a little bit too.
Yeah.
So
it wasn't used to comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was Spicer talking about it. So
okay. All right.
I would say that's the public information that he gave to everyone that I just said was my inside information.
Okay. I got it.
So, but one of the big first headlines that came out was Trump announcing that Mercedes was right and that he would not
That's
be
free. 3 times.
He would not be using force. But let's listen to the president. Okay.
We never asked for anything. And we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, where we already had it as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them. We were a powerful force then, but we are a much more powerful force now after I rebuilt the military in my first term and continue to do so.
We just want a piece of ice.
It's just
Greenland.
A piece of ice, Joe. Just like I could piece of ice, put it in my cocktail, call it a day.
He is a piece of work.
Did you see? Okay, so I'm watching this speech, and I'm nodding my head. I'm agreeing with it. He brought in some domestic issues too, about the economy and that which I think was a good point. Where he was like, when the United States of America is booming and is successful, all of Europe becomes successful, which is true. And he's like, we want you to be successful with us. And this is where the idea of our shared culture and also just kind of like getting control of the illegal migration comes in. But he also brought up, did you hear him talk about the windmills?
Yes, and how they are stupid and they're losers.
Yeah, okay. So I gotta play this because it's like
it's good.
He's basically saying stupid people buy windmills.
Yes.
I'll let him do it because I don't want to ruin it.
It's so good.
Windmills all over Europe. There are windmills all over the place, and they are losers. One thing is that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses, and the worse that country is doing. China makes almost all of the windmills, and yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them, but they don't use them themselves.
Do you hear them laughing?
They put up a couple of big wind farms, but they don't use them. They just put them up to show people what they could look like. They don't spin. They don't do anything. They use a thing called coal, mostly. But China goes with the coal. They go with oil and gas. They're starting to look at nuclear.
I mean, he is in a room. He did multiple things that typically, when you're talking about like diplomacy, which is what all of this stuff is about. It's about hobnobbing, kissing butt, diplomacy, whatever, right? He mentioned like, if it wasn't for us, some of you would be speaking German and Japanese with the German and Japanese in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, only stupid people buy windmills. I see windmills all over Europe. I'm like, bro.
And he does basically come in there and blow it all up, honestly. Like he's like, you guys have these meetings all the time. You stand around, you say a bunch of stuff, then you all go have cocktails later. You're all really friends when you act like you aren't. You don't get anything done. I am here, and let me tell you what's going to happen. And then it does. He walks out, and he's like, and we made a deal on Greenland. Thanks, bye. And it's being said online that he's going to fly over Greenland on his way home. I mean, I don't know. He just it doesn't play by their rules. And they all know it. And that's why no one knows what to expect. And that's why he gets stuff done, because they're kind of like, we're a little afraid of you. Because
it's been interesting because, I don't know, this is going to go a little bit off, but so Gavin Newsom was also at Davos.
Oh,
and Gavin Newsom is there as like the representative for he's trying to position himself, obviously, as for president, put himself on the national stage.
That was a very good move optically.
Absolutely.
That was smart of him to be there, because then everybody's talking about him. All the Republicans are like, get out of here. Why are you here? Or not even just
he got
Republicans,
booted
everybody.
From a event.
I think he was speaking at it too. And
that's my point. Yeah.
I wonder if that was a Trump, like, you're not going to let him speak.
And I'm like, first of all, is it necessary? Second of all, like, you're just, you're giving him fodder for him to run on.
Right.
I mean, maybe they really want him to run. I don't know. But let me tell you, I would prefer Kamala Harris run again and get the nomination before Gavin Newsom or something.
I want Gavin Newsom to run. And so he has to debate J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio.
I just think he's such a snake that
for sure.
Yeah. I don't trust him, obviously. And I don't trust enough percentage of people to not fall for his snakery. Yeah, exactly. So, but he was there, got booted from that event. Also, I think one of the most, because there was some conversation, you have, for example, the foreign minister, Lars Luke Rasmussen, which I believe is from Denmark. And he was like, we will not enter into negotiations based on abandoning fundamental principles, and we will never do that. And then as soon as the announcement is made by Mark Rutte, it's like, okay, so now Denver is interested in conversations.
Yeah.
And I bring that up because it's just like a lot of posturing, but at the end of the day, when you're talking about, this is ultimately NATO, and historically, anytime the United States has been, this is what we need to maintain NATO and to keep us in NATO, gimme.
Yeah. Yep. Give me.
We've seen that like on multiple occasions historically. And so when a lot of people are being like, well, Denmark hasn't said anything, or they haven't responded, or they haven't confirmed anything, in my opinion, well, we also have to wait because this is a framework. This isn't a signed deal. This isn't complete. But if I were to look at things historically, a lot of times there's a lot of this type of posturing. For example, like even the Swedish delegation or whatever are like, we're not going to be blackmailed. But also at the same time, it's like it sounds like you're making some cooperations
a little bit.
because saying like, look, I'm leading NATO, and he spoke and he said multiple times, he's like, would we be in the position that we're in right now if it wasn't for Donald Trump? And I actually have him here.
NATO is constructed like this, that the US, Canada, and the European NATO allies were completely integrated. It doesn't mean that there is the US coming to the rescue of Europe or Europe coming to the rescue of the United States. We are working completely integrated. And for the protection of both the US and Europe, it's crucial that NATO is there. There was one big irritant on the American side with NATO. And the big irritant since Eisenhower was that they were spending, the US was spending, so much more than Europe was spending. Even today, the US is spending 3.5% of GDP on core defense. We are spending in Europe average 2% of defense. And here's my question to the audience. I mean, many of you, I know, criticize Donald Trump. But do you really think that without Donald Trump, 8 big economies in Europe, including Spain and Italy and Belgium, Canada, by the way, also outside Europe, would have come to 2% in 2025 when they were only on 1.5% at the beginning of the year? No way. Without Donald Trump, this would never have happened.
No way.
They're all on 2% now. Do you really think that in the summit in The Hague, as already Alex was saying, the president of Finland was saying, that we would come to an overall defense spending of 5%, including 3.5% in core defense, if President Trump would not have been re-elected as president of the United States? No way. It would never have happened.
I love it.
So again, I'm not popular with you now because I'm defending Donald Trump, but I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No, he's not.
Okay.
No way.
No
I
way.
love it so much. He really does love Donald Trump, and I don't think he's kissing up to him.
No. I think, I mean, if you think about his position, he's going to favor, because NATO is so dependent on the United States that, of course, he's gonna favor, and he's gonna help that key ally. It's like if you're running any type of business. If most of my business is dominated by one particular vendor being happy, well, I'm going to make sure that vendor is happy.
Of course,
and I think that's the similar situation that we're dealing here with NATO.
But also what he's saying is true, so it kind of works.
Yeah. Did you notice the guy? So he kind of like addressed someone that was on the panel. He was talking about the Finnish, and then the guy at the end had kind of this like smile on his face. Okay, so that guy is the Finnish president.
Okay.
And what he was pointing out to him there was that he had said that Europe could defend themselves without the United States.
Oh, that's right. And then he tried to go back and like reverse course.
Yeah, I got a little clip there too.
First is a direct answer to the question of this panel, can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans, I mean...
You've said earlier that Europe can defend itself
later. 11
without
minutes.
the Americans. If it comes down...
not exact. That's not a quote.
Literally a quote.
More or less. We'll go back to the transcript. More or less. More or less.
Now,
I love journalists.
No. Literally a quote from a few minutes ago.
Well, he said, so if you were to watch the entire clip, there was like this tiny exception because he did admit that they had purchased, like, I think it was like F-35s. Don't quote me on what exactly they had purchased. And he said, can we fly them without Americans? No. But I think they'll be there and they'll deliver on that. That was like his one little exception. But overall, he was like, we can take care of our own. And so now that's where that conversation, and then Mark Rutte comes in and says, well, hold on a second. Let's be honest. We need the Americans in order for NATO defense. Like they're primary in that. So it's been what was most fascinating to me, though, and before I wrap us up with a few more, but was Mark Carney.
Oh, yeah. He came out like guns blazing. He was not happy.
No, so Carney, we talked about this before, that he went and he had a meeting with China. And that he's cozying up to China, which a lot of people are like, well, this is because of the relationship with the United States.
Yeah, they're saying it's the new world order. Everything's changing and realignments are occurring.
Right. So he said that we're in the midst of a rapture, not a transition. Great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons, tariffs as leverage, which clearly is directed towards the president, financial infrastructures as coercion, and supply chains as vulnerable to be exploited. And it says, if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And then he called out the middle powers, which would be like, for example, the UK and Canada would fall within those. And he says, call it what it is, a system of intensifying great power rivalry. So he's making this entire insinuation. And I mean, he didn't say Trump, yada, yada, the U.S., yada, yada, but we all know who he's talking about.
I mean, one can infer.
Yes. But so Trump had a response for Carney.
We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watched your prime minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
I mean,
he's very direct. I don't know why people kind of like blast Donald Trump necessarily and not expecting him to say something. He's just going to say something about it. You can't make these, milquetoast statements where you're too afraid to use someone's name, but actually everybody knows what you mean, and not expect him to respond. It's obviously what he's going to do. You know what I mean?
I mean, clearly. There was another speech that a lot of people, I shared this in my Instagram, and it was Howard Lutnick, who is the Commerce Secretary. And he made an address where he declared from the WEF stage that globalism has failed, which is really interesting because if you were to think of the WEF, the last time when Biden was in office, it was all about, processes, peace, taking baby steps about things, very measured, unified. But it was all about a globalist mindset and being just kind of like a dependent blob on each other.
Yes.
Versus what Lutnick had to say. And I thought this was so spot on. And I think it's also really spot on because what a lot of people need to understand is like, I know, especially for our listeners, there's a lot of frustration sometimes of like, why is he spending so much time on foreign policy? Well, first of all, it's what he has the most say in. So it's the easiest for him to resolve. And we have to admit that when we don't have to keep funding these nations in their defense, then that we can prioritize American citizens more. But we still need them to be able to defend themselves. Like we can't just bail on them and leave them high and dry because we're dependent on our defense along with them. But this whole like globalist mindset for right now, they have learned that lesson. And I feel like this particular World Economic Forum kind of put the nail in that coffin. Well, hopefully, at least for now.
One can hope.
Okay. We are in Davos at the World Economic Forum. And the Trump administration and myself, we are here to make a very clear point. Globalization has failed the West and the United States of America. It's a failed policy. It is what the WEF has stood for, which is export, offshore, far shore, find the cheapest labor in the world, and the world is a better place for it. The fact is, it has left America behind. It has left the American workers behind. And what we are here to say is that America First is a different model, one that we encourage other countries to consider, which is that our workers come first. We can have policies that impact our workers. Sovereignty is your borders. You're entitled to have borders. You shouldn't offshore your medicine. You shouldn't offshore your semiconductors. You shouldn't offshore your entire industrial base and have it be hollowed out beneath you. You should not be dependent for that which is fundamental to your sovereignty on any other nation. And if you're going to be dependent on someone, it darn well better be your best allies. Okay? And so that is a different way of thinking. It is completely different than the WEF. I viewed the WEF as not a flagpole in the middle.
I don't know why that makes me laugh.
But in fact, they are the flag. Whichever way the wind blew, so it blew. You should have solar. You should have wind. Why are you going to do solar and wind? Why would Europe agree to be net zero in 2030 when they don't make a battery? They don't make a battery. So if they go 2030, they are deciding to be subservient to China, who makes the batteries.
So I thought that was a good wrap up of Davos and how it is on the national stage. I'm sorry, international stage. This is foreign policy and a lot of hobnobbing, but it is also reflective and necessary for what we need here domestically. And it also exposes the mindset of the United States. And I think it's really interesting too, because the mindset of the president is like, we need to make sure that we're self-sufficient, but we also need to make sure that our allies are self-sufficient and that we're able to work together against our adversaries without like extreme codependence. And look, like put a little pressure on them to get their whole like immigration situation
under control
too, because that's also a national security issue, but it's also like financially, if you want our help, we're not going to supplement you and your mass like
migration effort.
Migration. Yeah. Like it makes no sense whatsoever. So speaking of migration and enforcement, let's get into Minnesota. So I want to give a highlight or a update, I should say, on what is happening in Minnesota. So, first of all, well, like I said, we've had those 2 arrests, and right now that was on the city's church situation. And have you seen any kind of new? Is Don Lemon been arrested yet?
No, they've released the magistrate judge Zia Faruqi.
Okay.
It's a man, and he's refusing to sign the Department of Justice complaint. And that's all I'm seeing right now. And then, of course, tons. A third subject. Just in from Kash Patel. A third subject has now been arrested, connected to targeting city's church in Minneapolis on Sunday. William Kelly is now in custody. I'm not exactly sure who that is.
So I'm curious if the magistrate that's refusing to sign Don's...
Did he sign the other ones?
Other ones.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm curious about that. I would like to know that. But in addition to that legal situation, Governor Tim Walz, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, Attorney General, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, St. Paul Mayor, the St. Paul Mayor, and also the Hennepin County Attorney have all been served with subpoenas for impeding federal officers from discharging their duties in regards to immigration enforcement. Now, this is what's ironic about this particular situation. So they're being charged based on 18 USC 372, which is the Civil War era statute that criminalizes conspiracy to impede federal officers from performing their duties through force, intimidation, or threat. This is also the same statute that was used to prosecute some of the January 6 rioters, like, for example, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and those that were charged and tried. So it's this... I think it's really fascinating. This is just a side note that right now we've just had these individuals arrested based on the FACE Act, maybe possibly the Ku Klux Klan. And then now also these subpoenas have been served based on this federal statute that was used in the prosecution of individuals on January 6th.
Yeah.
Which I think is
kind of poetry.
I mean, it's kind of full circle.
Yep.
It's definitely interesting, to say the least. But now the details of everyone's, like, when they're supposed to appear, they're not exactly known yet. We do know a little bit about Frey's. He was ordered to appear for February 3rd at the U.S. District Court in Minneapolis. There's like 8 categories that he needs to produce for this. It says all records related to the federal immigration enforcement since January 1, communications related to the lack of cooperation with federal enforcement. So if any kind of email communications, text messages, and then any directives issued to Minnesota residents concerning interactions with immigration officers. That I'm sure will be also collected by, the feds, by the DOJ, but I mean, it's going forward. So we're still waiting to see more information of when, for example, the governor and everyone else has to appear. But I don't know. Okay, so we were talking about this, about like Pam Bondi and because we've all been talking about, like, are you going to get some things done, sister?
Exactly.
And we finally see some movement on this, but we've seen like a little bit of foot dragging on other situations. How are you feeling right now about this in particular?
Well, I mean, I'm glad something happened, and it seems to be quicker than we've seen arrests made with other like high profile events and things that we've kind of wanted the ball to get rolling. But I was frustrated this morning, like, why do things take so long? And then you talked me off the ledge. And then I did see, I don't know if you saw it, but Mike Cernovich, he put on Twitter, I thought this was interesting. He put, why haven't there been more arrests? There is an answer to this. Under the blue slip process, which we've talked about before, under the blue slip process, one Democrat senator can block Trump's U.S. attorneys. The staff inside these districts refuse to indict. This situation played out in Virginia regarding Comey. It's like this everywhere. And after he wrote that, that's when we found out that after he wrote that, that's when we found out, like, Don Lemon's not, I don't know, sad to say, nothing's going to happen. So it just gives you a lot to think about. Nothing is ever necessarily as cut and dry and as simple as, there's these processes that can go through, there's loopholes, there's so many different things that can obstruct what we want to see happen. But I am glad that these 3 people so far have been arrested. They should be arrested. Every single one who was there should be arrested under the same statutes, obviously. But I guess sometimes you just take what you can get.
Well, and the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, like you said, there is active opposition because, look, the district attorneys, like, that are in these offices in these states are of that community. Okay, so even if they're with the DOJ, they're of that community.
Yeah, they have a vested interest in what's going on.
And so specifically when it comes to Minnesota, they've recently had some mass, like, I think it was like 6 to 8. I'm not exactly how many attorneys that resigned because they're like, we're not doing this, which is why Pam Bondi is in Minnesota right now and brought along with her district attorneys with her to do exactly this because the office didn't have enough staff in order to pursue these charges. So that's the other, the friction that the administration currently is experiencing. Mind you, when it was the other way around, they were just like all too happy to, I don't know, investigate and charge people protesting at abortion clinics. Or because you weren't wearing, harass you because you weren't wearing a face mask at a park or something like that.
Exactly.
Like,
I think that I do think that they will find other charges. They're going to look for other charges to charge Don Lemon with, since this set of charges, they just couldn't make it work. So I think they'll look for other avenues because they're ticked. Like, what? Why would you not sign it? I mean, we know why they wouldn't sign it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, right now, today, I believe, because he was in Toledo this morning, and Vance is on his way to Minneapolis for a visit and a roundtable with local leaders and community members, specifically about ICE and the situation that is happening in Minnesota and Minneapolis. So that'll be another headline that we'll be kind of keeping an eye on. I'm sure that we'll probably also, I mean, if you think about it optically, Pam Bondi's there. The vice president's going to be there. We're seeing arrests. Like, I think they're just kind of bringing attention to this situation.
I think that I also heard that there might be a significant sized ICE operation that's happening today there.
Oh.
And that might be why they're all there. I'm not exactly sure. I know that Vance just touched down and he's meeting with ICE agents.
So he's there too.
He's there. Vance is there.
So
he just touched down and he's there with the press pool. And I know he's meeting with ICE agents. That's what I heard.
Something is definitely going
Something's
down.
going on. Yes.
Well, speaking of, I think we need to talk about the CBS report about the whistleblower memo. And so late yesterday, CBS reported an internal memo. This is the headline from CBS. Internal memo authorizes ICE to enter homes without judicial warrants in some cases. So that was the CBS headline. The headline on other outlets have been ICE can enter homes without warrants, which is not exactly correct. Now, I want to give you guys, because I know this is going to be, along with another story that we're going to talk about, this is going to be it's going to be a situation, okay? So 2 government whistleblowers revealed a May 2025 internal ICE memo that was signed by the ICE director, Todd Lyons, that authorizes officers to enter homes with just an administrative warrant. No judicial warrant. If you guys have been listening to us for a moment, you know that the difference between the two. So a judicial warrant is signed by a judge within the judicial branch that gives you allows you to enter somebody's home. The administrative warrant is through an immigration judge who is through the administrative branch. I'm sorry, the executive branch. And these warrants are only meant to, typically it's like you can only apprehend someone in a public space, in the street, in a park, in hallways, if you're in an apartment building, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Now, a new memo has been leaked. And in this memo, it says that as long as individuals have gone and received a final deportation order, issuing an administrative order for final deportation, that according to this memo and how they're interpreting their policy, they can now, the officer may use necessary and reasonable amount of force to enter the alien's residence. That is the quote.
They're basically saying that they're a fugitive from justice. So
yes, because Trisha, this is their argument. I'm telling you what's going on. I have not provided my opinion as of yet before anybody's listening and arguing with me or anything in your car, wherever you're listening. So Trisha McLaughlin, who is the deputy attorney general, is she a deputy attorney general for DHS? This is her statement that she put out once this story broke. And she says here, it says, we have an administrative warrant. Administrative warrants have been used for decades and recognized by the Supreme Court and lower courts. In every case that DHS uses an administrative warrant to enter a residence, an illegal alien has already had their full due process and a final order of removal by a federal immigration judge. The officer also has probable cause. So that is her statement and her argument.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that traditionally, administrative warrants are not used to enter a private home, to enter a residence. Like, that's never been the practice. But also at the same time, the argument that, and I mean, look, pay close attention to how she parsed that. Did you notice what she did there?
Tell us.
Well, because she's like, administrative warrants have been used for decades and recognized by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Paragraph. In every case, we have an administrative warrant. by the way, that the Supreme Court has already endorsed. But at no point has the Supreme Court said, yes, you can use an administrative warrant to enter somebody's residence.
And Homeland Security basically parroted what she said when they were answering the Associated Press breaking this story. And they basically did a whole like couple lines, and basically their answer is like, yeah, that's what we're doing. We are, in fact, entering the homes with an administrative warrant. Yes.
And what they're arguing, though, is that the way it's different is that these individuals already have a final deportation order.
Yeah. So they're they're fugitives of justice. Like they are on the lam. And so they said, they basically parroted what Tricia said at the end. Administrative warrants have been used for decades, and the Supreme Court and Congress have recognized the propriety of administrative warrants in cases of immigration enforcement. Instead of saying it is legal to use an administrative warrant to enter a private residence.
Or it's been used in X example, or this has always been done.
I think because there's not like lots of examples.
No, they're parsing words. They're being like, now, this is like, it would be a lie to say that this administration doesn't test boundaries. And the test of this boundary would be, look, if you've already been found guilty, if there's a final deportation order, if let's say maybe on top of that, you also have a criminal conviction or something like that, I don't know, and you're hiding in somebody's residence.
Yeah.
Like, how are we supposed to enforce the fact that you're supposed to be deported?
Well,
that's the argument that they're making.
Homeland Security did say that. They made it very clear in every case. So they're basically saying, if we have to do this, if we have to use this administrative order, in every case we serve an administrative warrant, there is probable cause, and the illegal alien has had full due process already, and a final order of removal. They're basically saying, we're at the end of this whole thing. We've done everything we're supposed to do, and this person,
it's time for you to go,
is not leaving. And we cannot fulfill our obligations. Therefore, we will now be using an administrative warrant to enter the home to do this final action. And so that's where.
But see, I don't know, because here's the problem. Like, I don't like it because
I'm not defending it. I'm just
no. This is the argument they're making, because if you think about it, I mean, this is a constitutional issue, entering someone's home. This is a Fourth Amendment issue, which would be something that would be ruled on by the judicial branch.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? This is not something that's ruled and determined by an executive branch or by an administration, which is why I'm like, I think you're stretching here. And let me tell you, I also don't like it, because if you're going to tell me that you can go through the hoops in an administrative department and then use one of your warrants to then go after me in something else, like, I don't know, the IRS or something,
Yeah, right.
I don't like the idea of that. I want that if you're going to come into my house, I want it to go through the judicial process.
Right.
Because, like, you're just requiring an extra step. You're like, oh, now you have to go to an actual judge and be like, look, we need to get this guy out.
That's what I think. So then their third paragraph, that's where I think they would say this is the answer. It says, every illegal alien who DHS serves administrative warrants, I-205s, have had full due process and a final order of removal from an immigration judge. So they're saying we've already been to the judicial branch. They have an order of removal. Really,
from an immigration judge, that's incorrect. An immigration judge is executive. It's administrative. It's not judicial. That's my point.
Okay, and so then they don't really have a leg to stand on if you're going to look at it that way, which is constitutionally the way we ought to look at it. And I suppose the only way I could understand this would then be the argument that they might say, okay, look, this guy needs to go. He's had a final, order of removal. He is a fugitive of justice. He's got to go, and he's just chilling in his house. What rights
which is where the probable cause comes in.
Yes. And so if it's that person's home, then you'd be breaking into a fugitive of justice's home to execute the orders already. It's not like in some situations it's going to be them staying with a family member. Then you're entering someone else's home that is not implicated in this crime.
It's messy.
So then is it only okay to do that if it's just the home of the fugitive and not when it's the family member or a dependent or whatever? Like, I don't know. It's messy. When is it okay? When is it not okay?
I mean, I think I don't know. Look, I don't like this is like one of those tests that I'm not particularly a fan of because I
Mhm.
see how an administrative warrant can be used by other administrative bodies,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just immigration.
That aren't dealing
And
with
that
immigration. They're dealing with just
correct.
American citizens doing something they don't like.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, I don't like that. Like once you set the precedent that an administrative body under the executive can
Mhm.
like run because this also doesn't have nearly as much friction and as much checks and balances as it does through the judicial process.
Mhm.
Like they're way more politically centered. So you can just kind of push it through a lot quicker and then what?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like I don't like it.
Yeah.
I get the argument and I get what they're trying to do.
Yep.
I also am going to tell you that if you see a headline that says they're doing it without a warrant, is technically it's incorrect.
Right. It's just not the right warrant, right?
Correct.
And real quick, William Kelly, the third guy that was arrested, he was the one that was like unhinged screaming in people's faces in the church. He's the one. Yeah. He got arrested.
Yeah. So the one that was like the farmer guy, the radical,
the woke farmer.
the woke
arrested.
farmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys saw
Oh.
my stories, he's the one that
Yeah.
was screaming at everybody.
So he was charged with conspiracy to deprive rights, a federal crime, and violating the FACE Act, 18 U.S.C. 248 for his involvement. Yeah, because he had previously told AG Pam Bondi, quote, "Come and get me, you traitorous bee," close quote. And she did. She did come
She's
and
like,
get you, William.
Wishes granted.
Yep.
So I want to talk about one more story before I go ahead and wrap us up. And that is right now, there is a story that is going viral about a 5-year-old boy being detained by ICE. All right.
Okay.
I got thoughts about this. Hopefully we can get this done in quickly. So the story is, I'm going to pull up the Washington Post story here. The headline from the Washington Post is ICE detains 4 children from Minnesota school district, including 5-year-old. And then they have the picture of this sweet little boy being held. Now, I read through all of this.
Yeah.
And I found there's a few things here. It says, first of all, they're opening up immediately with like the kids, the 5-year-old, and it says the events that have been inflamed since the shooting of the death of Renee Good. And one of the things that I'm noticing here is that, first of all, the story about the father is about 4 paragraphs down. So 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos and his father, whom the Department of Homeland Security identifies as Adrian Alexander Conejo's rabbit. I find that really interesting. Anyways, Arias in an
rabbit
email
as in like bounce.
Yeah,
rabbit?
bunny rabbit.
Oh,
that's how that
okay.
translates. Okay. Emailed statement were detained in their driveway Tuesday afternoon just as they were returning from the child's preschool, according to a news release from the Columbia Heights Public Schools. Notice public schools. The father fled on foot when ICE officers approached him. DHS said, for the child's safety, one of our ICE officers remained with the child while the other officers apprehended Conejo Arias. It added, after detaining the father, ICE officers then asked Liam, the 5-year-old, to knock on the door to see if any other people were inside the home. Quote, using a 5-year-old as bait, according to the school district. Another adult living in the home, who was outside at the time, begged the agents to leave the child with them. The school district said ICE agents refused. Liam's middle school-aged brother returned home 20 minutes later to find his younger brother and father had been taken away. Liam and his father are now in San Antonio in the custody of Homeland Security authorities. The family's lawyer said in an email they are not U.S. citizens, but they have been following the legal process perfectly from presenting themselves at the border to applying for asylum and waiting for the process to go through, he said. DHS said that it was not targeting Liam and that his ICE policy is to ask parents if they want to be removed with their children or if ICE will place the children with a safe person designated by the parent. Okay. So there's several things going on here. First of all, everything that I have heard on the reporting here has been from the school district.
Yep, from the public
or from
school.
You haven't heard anything from a mother, from a family member, a grandmother.
There's
Nobody.
been no eyewitness videos, nothing released.
Even the term where they go and they said that the young boy was used as bait, that is a statement from also one of the school administrators who appeared there after the fact. They did not witness that.
Yeah. And even, I mean, using him as bait, and this is going to be some of the details, but like ICE has said, and like Homeland Security has said, and like even that article said, that parents are asked if they want to be removed with their child, or ICE will place the children with a safe person that the parent designates. So it would seem natural that until they figure out if this guy who runs away and leaves his kids standing there wants to take his child with him, that they would say, who's in the house? Is a mom here? Is an
and we
aunt
also,
here?
exactly, because what we don't know is that from what I'm gathering, there's a few things that could have happened here. They're in the driveway of the home.
Yeah.
ICE approaches, father bails, son is left in the car. So the ICE officer then goes, and there's apparently a man outside that is like, who knows what the situation is, and is saying, leave the kid with me. That officer has no idea who this
person is. Right.
Yeah. So they're not just going to hand the kid over to them. What would you do? You would take the child up to the door and be like, do you want to knock on the door? Do you want to see who's inside? Do you want to ask? Because he doesn't know what, like, it's possible that the officer doesn't know who's in there or what the situation is.
Right.
Or maybe you want to reunite them with their family so they aren't as scared, as opposed to just keeping them held in the car. Like, those scenarios are
real
possibilities. And she's now, I say she, I have no idea, but the individual that says that he was used as bait, like I mentioned, arrived after the fact.
Right.
Those are, I don't know, assumptions that maybe other people made. Like, where
and this is an administrator at the public schools. This is in Minneapolis proper. Is this in Minneapolis proper?
I don't know if it's in Minneapolis. 5-year-old Columbia Heights, Minnesota is what it says.
Okay. Well, I mean, and let's not forget that most of these schools are very much, these public schools in Minnesota specifically, are very anti-ICE. I mean, they're working in lockstep with parents. In fact, the largest teachers union in the country, the NEA, is working with Minnesota public schools to organize anti-ICE protests with the students, making flyers, telling teachers and administrators to have all the students wear blue in solidarity with their community and their neighbors, basically telling these students ICE is bad all the time. So you kind of have to consider the source in this situation. I don't know who this administrator is, but I can take a guess that they're probably not out there backing the blue. Okay.
No.
So,
yeah. Well, and another detail on this article. So I read this article, which was from the Washington Post, and they said that there was another adult in the house. And then also that the brother of the little boy came later and found brother and dad gone. Now, another article says that the adult in the house was the mother. But what I'm not sure is that if it was the mother of the older brother
or of this boy,
or of both of them. So then the question comes up, are these brothers and do they share the same parents? And I don't know what the legal situation is there. Like, is it a girlfriend? Is it a guardian? Can they, like, if the father says, I want my son with me, then you take
them. That's all the family unification that they're always talking about.
I'm not going to say but these are the details that are not reported in these stories, are not clarified. And I can say that the practice is, as I said, like, if there was somebody else that could take the 5-year-old, then leave you would expect, we've seen it in the past, like they leave it. But then there's other stories too, where the parent, they're like, oh, a U.S. citizen who's like, I think it was like a 6-year-old got deported. Well, no, a U.S. citizen got deported with their mother because their mother chose to take them with them when they were deported.
It's all framing. It's all crafting a very specific narrative. Now, what I want to know is, he's from Ecuador. It's claiming that he's going through the judicial process,
the asylum
process. Excuse me. I want to know what he had done in order for ICE to
Well, I
bring this
think
operation?
honestly,
If they're just checking, if they're just going, okay, show me, your papers. Are you going about this the right way? Are you doing what you need to be doing? Is that all,
well,
or
I mean,
is there
I
some
would
other
have to
crime?
check because I don't know what the status is. Different countries have different status in regards to whether their temporary protective status has been revoked, whether asylum claims are being revoked for certain regions. Because it's like, look, because you have to remember when they came, a lot that have come in recently, which they came in during the Biden administration. When they came in, they were coming in for economic reasons. Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't to claim asylum, even though they claimed asylum.
Which is not a valid asylum claim. That was
Yeah.
one of the things that was just kind of, it was stretched by the Biden administration. So this administration can be like, no economic asylum claims.
Yeah.
So asylum denied, you have, like,
You gotta go.
therefore you got to go. So
Yeah.
those are other details that still need, just because it says, well, he was going through the asylum process. Okay. At what point, where was he
were
in that
we at
asylum
in the
process?
and also, just like, could we say it one more time? Just like, don't run. I don't.
Well, yeah.
Like,
Don't leave your
kid in a driveway and take off. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, and then it's just like the headline is 5-year-old detained. And look, you cannot agree. Look, this is my thing. Like, you cannot agree with this. Okay. We can debate that.
But can we be honest? Can we be honest about what's happening?
My focus here is like, I left a comment on some post on Instagram. I'm like, honest question. The dad fled. Do we want the father and the son separated? Is that what we're advocating for? And I'm getting all kinds of, I'm like,
yeah.
That is the question. Does the child stay and go into foster care? Does the child get separated and sent to a different detention? Like what?
Yeah.
Because in the United States, anyone who commits a crime that is a U.S. citizen and is arrested is separated from their child.
Yes. Yeah.
So I
just think people who are arguing against this and want to follow that narrative, and they want all these operations to shut down, they are so uncomfortable with the idea that the actions have consequences. They don't want any of it to happen. They just want to, they want to like start over and be like, let's pretend everybody who's here is totally above board and safe. And so we don't have to think through these things, because it does take the conversation we just had about Homeland Security and sometimes being uncomfortable, being like, yeah, I don't like this,
Yeah.
I don't think people want to engage in that. They just want to be like, it's all bad or it's all good. And there's a messy middle where you kind of have to sometimes.
Well, and you can you're completely valid to protest this. Like, go and protest it if you don't like it. Go speak to your representative, get some legislation going.
Yep.
But don't ram the cars of officers. Don't block, public streets. Don't rat the officers out as they're approaching, trying to, capture a sex offender.
Don't run. Don't park your car in front of a cop car. Don't sit on your horn and think that you can do that for an hour. Don't put your hands on a law enforcement officer. Like, these are all very, very basic things that pretty much like my 11-year-old could explain. It's not, these kinds of things are difficult to understand.
Well, and just in case someone's wondering about the other children that this article mentioned. So the other children are like mothers with their 17-year-old child, I think is one. And the other one was like, they were both teenagers, but they were both underage, which again, you get detained with your minor child. So one of the quotes here, one of the teachers, like, I'm sure that the 5-year-old was not a criminal. I'm like,
well, no one's saying that they are, duh.
Duh. Obviously.
Thank you for clearing that up. I'm so glad you work in the school system.
So these headlines, I actually did a whole breakdown even about the city's church thing. And I'm going to start doing this more. Breaking down how this story, the Washington Post is manipulating you. They don't tell you whether or not anybody asked if that other adult was the mother or a relation to the child that the child could have stayed with.
They're not asking any questions. No.
Nobody asked anybody else about whether or not the kid was actually used as bait. We're just taking the word for this person that wasn't even there when it happened.
Right. That's a small detail.
This is not proper investigative journalism. Let's be honest here, okay?
And they only have this to point out, the Washington Post article, and then I think there was a article in The Guardian. I'm like, well, okay.
Well, and there was also like the Minnesota, which is also a left-leaning outlet, because Alpha News is the right-leaning outlet in Minneapolis, and then the Minnesota Star Spangle or something like that. It has something to do with Spangle or whatever. They're the ones that said the boy's mother, but it's not clear. Like there's a paragraph break there. So it's not clear if it's the 5-year-old's mother or if it's the older brother's mother.
Yeah.
Which it like these are those details that matter, but they omit.
And people are fine with it. And people know they're omitted. I know people are not asking these questions in their head. They're just like, well, in the absence of the answers, we'll just make our own story and it'll be fun.
But these articles are written to fill in the blanks for you. Like they're written to guide people. Like if you're not consuming this constantly and are savvy
able
to how
and able to kind of spot it right away.
Correct. Like a lot, it's very easy to miss if you're not savvy when it comes to the structure of reporting and like the style of it. And especially now in the media, with social media, we see the headline, we see the picture, and we move on.
Yeah.
And if you do click on it, you read the paragraph 1 and 2, you don't go to the 4th paragraph after the ad.
Yeah, exactly. You're just wanting the top headline.
Yes. So like that's why we're like one of the contributing factors that we're in this this mess, frankly, you know, and it doesn't help too. Like you have to be like, I can agree with a lot of what the administration is doing, but it also poses challenges when they test things like they're doing with this administrative warrant situation.
Yes.
I don't like it. I think it's going to go through the legal process, but I do not like it. And I think it's like a fair thing to be like, what are you doing, bro? Like, why of all the things that we're going to test, why are we doing this one? Why are we doing it now? And why are we doing it at a time where you already got enough like heat?
People are already mad enough.
Yes. Like
for things that you're doing legally. Let's not try and make up some
do something where we're like, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking like we can test this one. I'm like, can we pick and choose our battles here? Like this is not it. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. But first, I just want to acknowledge that there is a baby boom in the White House.
There is. It's very sweet. Three preggers.
3 babies.
I know.
3 babies are coming to the White House. That's kind of wild. I don't think that's ever happened.
Caroline Leavitt is having a baby.
Yes.
Who else? Melania.
Just kidding. No. It's like, whoa, what?
It just went up on X. Breaking news.
So Stephen Miller's wife, Stephanie Miller, she is also pregnant.
Katie
Miller. Yes. Katie Miller is also pregnant. And he's you guys all know who Stephen Miller is.
Stephen.
So,
Stephen.
I mean, Stephen.
He's an advisor.
Yes.
And then Usha
is also pregnant. So
and
the Vances are having a 4th baby.
A 4th baby, and it's a boy. So is that 4 boys, or do they have a girl? Don't they?
They have Mirabelle, yeah. They have 2 boys so far and 1 girl. And so she's the youngest right now. Yes. Not anymore, but she was the youngest.
But I love that it is historical because this is the first wife of a vice president that's having a baby while they are serving in the administration. I think it's wonderful.
So we're going to see more babies at the White House.
I know. I love it.
It's actually kind of crazy because the left has been losing. They're like, the prenatalist pronatalist administration are trying to manipulate you into having babies by having babies themselves.
By being happy and married. Like, so ridiculous.
How dare they procreate?
I mean, but honestly, imagine how just very unhappy they must be. Like, that's so sad, honestly. Also, there's a huge snowstorm that's coming for us. So when we next podcast on Tuesday, we all are going to be snowed in.
If we have power.
I know.
That's the other thing. Because there's a question of, I think we're going to, for us, the line has risen. So I think we're just going to start with some wintry mix and then go into snow, which can go very badly if that turns into ice, which then creates, let me tell you, if we get ice here where I live.
Everybody in Tennessee is dead.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well, not dead. Jeez, calm down.
It was a joke. I saw someone in Tennessee who was like, we might get 3 inches of snow. So every family, please pick your least favorite child to sacrifice because everything's going downhill. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's pretty
it's going to
bad.
be, well, and also we're elevated too, and
Yep.
our power lines are running through trees and stuff. So if we get ice and lose power, we could very much lose power. We at one time during a windstorm had a power line go down and and then it blocked the street too. And there was only one way in and out, and people had to stay overnight in a hotel. Like, it was bad.
Yep. The last
So,
big storm to hit where we are at in Virginia, which is pretty close to the Beltway, was in 2016. And the same thing happened where our neighbors, like our house and our neighbors and the other couple houses that are around here, there's not many, but they all lost power for like 9 days. And people were like digging themselves out and plowing each other out so they could go stay at, like you said, at hotels. And the one good thing, hopefully, is that all of our pipes are all underground. And I'm really hoping that we're going to get a lot of snow here. They're saying between 8 and 18 inches where we're at.
wow.
Yeah. And then a little bit of sleet at the end, which is basically going to make it like concrete snow.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I will definitely get snowed in at least for a couple of days, which is fine. But we are prepping to lose.
Yeah. So if we're not here on Tuesday, it's because one of us lost power.
I know. My real concern is our chest freezer downstairs that is full of like 5 lambs. Not,
Well,
like tons of meat.
But you say downstairs in a basement or downstairs?
Yeah, it's our basement. It's our
Yeah, so it may not defrost right away. Like, we have a giant freezer full of meat in the garage.
Yeah.
But we're figuring if we don't open it and it's in the garage where it's already freezing, it'll I mean, worst case scenario, we'll roll it out to the driveway.
Well, yeah, that's what Sean was like. He's like, well, worst case scenario, we literally just take the meat out and go put it in the snow.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be freezing here. Like, it's no buenos. And we just have new lambs and we have animals out there. And I'm like, oh, those poor guys. Yeah, the whole next week, 0 degrees.
You should bring the lambs in.
Not
Bring in the
absolutely
babies.
not. No. 9 degrees, 10 degrees. This is all at night. 2 degrees. Oh my gosh. And then we have the dog. I don't know. It's going to be a big fat mess, but I'm just praying that we don't lose all our meat. Yeah. All our food.
Yeah. Well, yeah, power. So,
I mean, yeah, I don't want my kids to be cold, but also I don't want to lose all that meat.
we have a generator for the freezers and stuff, so that should be okay. But I won't have power for the internet or for my laptop and that sort of thing. So I don't think we'll be able to.
If we're not here, guys, that's why.
That's what happened. We're alive, hopefully. Lord willing. Just without power. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up.
Little House on the Prairie real quick. We're going to be putting on our bonnets, walking around with buckets of water.
The candle.
Yes. Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, get a puzzle out, read a book. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and wrap us up for today's episode of Rivera and Reeves. If this is your first time here, welcome. You have found your new favorite podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening, whether it be on your favorite podcast app, Substack, or YouTube. If you're a paying subscriber, you're very lucky because you're going to get this as soon as I hit send. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait a little bit later in the afternoon for the audio and the next day for the video. So please consider becoming a paying supporter. There is a link in the show notes. Also, it just helps us, like, I don't know, give you guys content, make things easier. Like, we love what we do, but what we do does take time. And so we just genuinely appreciate everyone's support.
Yep.
And encourage more.
Yeah. We would love you to also support us more.
Yes.
If you're not supporting us already, please.
Yeah.
No, we just keep getting to do stuff. We get to go to DC together and do fun stuff like that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. To be able to, like, fund more trips and that sort of thing, that would be awesome. So,
yes, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Today's Thursday. Hopefully we'll be back on Tuesday. In the meanwhile, here's a reminder that the media is trash and we have no tolerance for it. Okay. Bye.
Bye.